Welcome back to Mock Draft Madness, day 37 of doing a mock draft every day until the NFL draft. If you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, let me know in the comments your favorite and least favorite pick from this mock draft, as well as trade suggestions that I'll try. I haven't done it. I didn't do a 2-round mock this weekend. I will do a 2-round mock at some point this week. Probably my plan is, because we're getting kind of closer to the draft, is I eventually want to do a 3-round mock. Obviously, I'll probably only do 1 or 2 of those. But I am excited as we're getting closer to the draft. Let's lock in our typical picks here with Caleb Williams at 1. And then with the Washington Commanders, I think it's kind of a coin toss, obviously, between Drake May or a Jaden Daniels. But I just feel like I think Adam Peters wants to go with a Drake May, but when I look at the way that the Commanders have kind of rebuilt their team, I know it's kind of the first year under new ownership, but they signed a bunch of players. They didn't break the bank, but they brought in a guy who's a little bit more established in a Dan Quinn, everything like that. So I think Adam Peters may want a Drake May because he might see this more as a project, where I'm not saying the front office and the coaching staff's vision doesn't align. It definitely does. But I feel like Jaden Daniels would be more of like kind of a win now or like sooner than later type of thing. And I feel like some people in the building may want a more win now, and that might just be with the new ownership and everything like that, because we know the Commanders have been under bad ownership for quite a while, and to get under that and then start out losing, I'm sure they want to kind of change the message pretty quickly. So while I think that Jaden Daniels may be a better option, I'm going to go ahead and take Drake May here. Now, something that I have, heard a couple times is that it is possible that the Patriots take a JJ McCarthy. So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I am actually going to have them take JJ McCarthy here. And I did this yesterday, but instead of, not moving up, I actually am still going to have the Vikings move up as Marvin Harrison Jr. goes to the Cardinals. And I'm going to have the Chargers trade out. And tomorrow what I'll try to do is, I know it's very unlikely. Well, I don't know how unlikely, but I'll try to have the Cardinals trade out, because there is a reality where they do trade out if they get the right draft capital from the Vikings. So I'm going to have them 11-23 and a third for number 5. We're going to force that trade through, and the Vikings are going to take Jaden Daniels, because yesterday what I had them do is I had them stick and pick and take Penix at 11, and then the Broncos went Knicks at 12. So I tried to focus it more on a quarterback-heavy mock draft. Now, at number 6 for the New York Giants, I'm going to go with Malik Neighbors. I think they like his explosiveness quite a bit. And at the end of the day, I think he is a little bit closer to Marv than he is to Rome, if that makes sense. Like, I think his type of talent is closer to Marv than it is to Rome. And I think a lot of teams see that. Rome is definitely a different type of receiver, obviously a little bit more contested catch, big body, things like that. At number 7, this is not going to happen, but I'm going to mix a draft up quite a bit. And the reason I'm going to do so is I've seen this in a couple mock drafts, but I'm just doing it because I saw a notification today that the Titans are bringing in J.C. Latham. So I'm going to go J.C. Latham here at 7. Do I think he goes as high? No. I think the league's opinion of Latham is pretty high, because he can play guard, he can play tackle, and he's probably one of the strongest players in the draft. So depending on what the Titans are looking for, if they want a guy who they know they can bank on playing guard or tackle, especially when they have a guard spot open. They have both tackle spots open as well. I don't think Latham is going to go there, obviously, with Fuaga and Alt going there, but with the interest shown in, JC Latham, I know all these teams do these visits anyway. I'm just going to go there and mix up the draft a little bit. So, at number 8, we have the Atlanta Falcons on the clock. I think they have become, as we get closer and closer to the draft, more of a prime trade out candidate, because if they are truly going to go edge, they can really move to any of these spots and get edge. Like, realistically, they can. So I want to do something a little bit crazy here. And I think what I'm going to do is I am going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers trade up. I'm going to give them our second, and then maybe I give them 84 and they give us like 109. Because the Steelers do need a lot, but maybe what I'll do is instead of giving them our second this year, well, we'd have to give our second this year, but maybe instead of giving our third, we give our third next year. We'll give them 84 and they give us 74. So we're going to force that trade through. And I'm going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking Joe Alt. So now they have Broderick Jones and Joe Alt. They have their 2 tackles for the future. And I think while this is probably not going to happen, the idea that you are building your team with such high caliber players, regardless if it's Russ or it's Justin Fields, like, you're going to have to protect these guys or the quarterbacks after them. And Joe Alt is one of those prospects where it's like, you can't miss. You really can't miss, and that's obviously why I doubt JC Latham goes in front of him, but crazy things happen in the NFL draft. Maybe not that crazy, but Romo Dunze to the Bears. They're going to add a weapon. At number 10 to the New York Jets. I think this is very interesting because with Fuaga on the board, I think they could go there. I think they may want to add a playmaker in a Brock Bowers, but I think because of the issues with the health on their offensive line and their tackles being a little bit older, I'm going to go to Lisa Fuaga. At number 11, we have the Los Angeles Chargers on the clock. So we've seen 3 tackles go already. I had them go Brock Bowers yesterday at 11, and while I think that is a good pick, I'm going to try to have them grab a receiver a little bit later. So what I'm going to do is I think what I'll do is I think I'm going to have them trade back one more time. Yeah, I'm going to have them trade back one more time. So I'm going to trade back with the Indianapolis Colts. They're going to swap picks with us, and we're going to get pick 82. Well, no, we'll go 82 and 117, and they'll give us 105 and 140. So really just moving up a decent amount of spots. Force that trade through, and the Colts are going to take Brock Bowers. Now, with the Broncos on the clock, they need a quarterback. They don't have a second round pick. And while I think that's probably what they're going to try to do, either maneuver into later in the first to get a quarterback or find a way to recoup a second round pick and take a quarterback, they're going to have to do something based on what their quarterback depth chart looks like. But, with guys on the board here, like, Terran Arnold, Byron Murphy, it's kind of hard to pass up one of these defensive players. So I'm actually going to give them Dallas Turner. 13 to the Las Vegas Raiders. They do need right tackle. I don't love the options for them at right tackle right now. So I'm going to give them, I'm actually going to give them Cooper DeJean. Kind of a little bit of a mix-up for what I've been doing with the Terran Arnold and Quinyon Mitchell. I have Cooper DeJean as CB1 in this mock. At number 14, we have the New Orleans Saints. I've had them going tackle. I've had them going even defensive line. I'm thinking to mix it up. I am going to go tackle, but I'm going to give them a guy in Amarius Mims who can play both tackles. And yes, Ramczyk may not be back this year. And Penning really hasn't worked out. But I think you're able to actually squeeze out one more year from both of those guys and give time for Amarius Mims to develop. So now with the 15th pick, I'm going to have the Los Angeles Chargers taking Brian Thomas Jr. So I think 15, in my opinion, is really where the Brian Thomas Jr. range starts. I think it may be overdrafting a tiny bit, but I mean, if that's your guy and you think he can be that guy for you, it's okay if you take him a little bit early. 16 to the Seattle Seahawks. I am going to give them Fautanu. He makes the most sense in the world, can play all 5 positions, and they need help on that interior desperately. At number 17 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, if Olufusanu's here, I think that might be a great pick for them. I know, they kind of have Cam Robinson one more year, but, you can solidify your left tackle of the future in Olu at 17, even though I think they could use a corner as well. Cincinnati Bengals on the clock. They need tackle. They also need defensive interior, and both of these guys are sitting right here. So I'm going to give him Byron Murphy to play with Sheldon Rankins. At number 19, we have the Los Angeles Rams. Jared Verse is on the clock. Leatu Latu's on the clock. Jerzon Newton's on the clock. They could also use cornerback. But I think for the value, actually, I'm going to give them Quinyon Mitchell to kind of beef up their cornerback room. I think that's a little bit more of a position of need. While you do need D-line help, I think they have like Kobe Turner there, and they can really focus on the D-line going forward in their draft. And they get one of the top corners in the draft here. So at number 20, we have the Atlanta Falcons. They traded back, and now they have 2 first-round picks and 2 third-round picks as well, so they can really focus on their team. With a guy like Terrion Arnold, that's really hard to pass up, and so is Jerzon Newton and Jared Verse. I think for the value here, you probably have to go Verse. Even though Terrion Arnold might be the best player on the board, I just think that D-line is a little bit more, it's a little bit older. They don't have the talent as much as you'd want, and you need a really good pass rush to make your secondary better. So at 21, we have the Miami Dolphins. I think, honestly, with guys like, Jerzon Newton here and Leatu Latu, it's kind of hard to pass up. I think, though, they might need that interior of the O-line fixed a little bit more. So I'm going to give him Jackson Powers-Johnson, who could play all 3 interior O-line positions. 22 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Guys, Jerzon Newton on the board is kind of hard to pass up. I know they need a DB, and I know they, build that line every year. But with his talent, that rotation becomes easily the best rotation in the NFL if it isn't already. At number 23, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. They were able to take Brian Thomas Jr. with their first pick. And while I think they do need to go offense here, and they could get a guy like Graham Barton, if we look at their depth chart, I think, they don't really have too much at corner. And with a guy like Terrion Arnold sitting here, I feel like that might be kind of hard to pass up. Asante Samuel Jr. is not horrible, but they do need more depth. And Terrion Arnold sitting here at 23 is honestly kind of a felony, so I'm going to go with him. At number 24 to the Dallas Cowboys, Graham Barton, you are a Cowboy, can play all 5 positions on the offensive line, and Dallas has multiple positions to fill. 25 to the Green Bay Packers. While I do think they need O-line, I don't love what is available to us here. And with the talent of Leatu Latu, I kind of find that hard to pass up, even though you probably need a corner a little bit more. I'm kind of liking the way this mock draft is going because I kind of have some different things going than we have had the past 36 days positionally and where guys are getting taken. At number 26 in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you want to look at pure value here, I think it is probably going to be Nate Wiggins. and they do need some help there. So I am going to give them Nate Wiggins. At number 27, so I had them take Marvin Harrison Jr. earlier, and they do have pick 35, but if they want to go grab, here's what I'm thinking. The guys available at 35 will probably be are probably guys that are not going to go at 27. I know that doesn't make, that sounds really stupid, but my thing is, if they wanted to grab Chop Robinson, there's a chance they can get him at 35. If they want to grab a guy like TJ Tampa, they can get him at 35. If they want to grab a guy like a Jordan Morgan, he might be available. Troy Franklin, he might be available. Like, all these guys might be available. If you want to get more receivers and you pair Adonai Mitchell with Marvin Harrison Jr. and then you go get an edge or a corner at 35, I think that's the best way to go, because Adonai Mitchell, if he's the last round one-ish receiver there, he's not making it past the Bills. So now you've just supplemented your wide receiving room like crazy. Do I think that's something they're going to do? I think they might lean more Kool-Aid McKinstry if he's available. But at the end of the day, your receiving core has drastically improved. At number 28, we have the Buffalo Bills, who are kind of in a tough spot now that, kind of the top receivers are off the board. I think it is possible, though, that, one of these teams trade up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the 49ers just swap picks, and I'm going to give them I'll give them pick 124, and they can give me pick 163 or 160. I think that's fair, just to move up a couple spots. So we're going to force that trade through. 49ers are on the clock and get much needed cornerback help in Kool-Aid McKinstry. At number 29, now the Lions are in a tough spot because they kind of did need a corner, and Kool-Aid was kind of the last first-round guy, in my opinion. They need edge help. So I know I was saying a lot about Chop Robinson being there at 35, but if this is how the board falls, I kind of find it hard to believe they don't take Chop here, unless they're going to go Mikey Sanderstill out of Michigan, because kind of homegrown and definitely a type of player that Dan Campbell would value. At number 30, we have the Baltimore Ravens. I believe I had them going Troy Franklin yesterday. They do need edge help, but I don't necessarily love with Chop Robinson off the board. Darius Robinson is a fine player. I just don't see him as a round one guy. If we want to look at wide receiver, any of these guys I feel like could go at the end of the first, even though that's probably not where they're ranked on PFF, just because if a team likes them, they do have a good amount of talent. And when you get to pick 28 anyway, I mean, I don't even want to say 28. Most evaluators and teams only have 15 to 20 first-round grades on players anyway. So when you're getting to the end of the first, you're basically taking second-round players anyway. So I guess it depends just kind of what you want to pair with Zay Flowers. I think Keon Coleman could be a good addition, even though it might be a little bit early for him. If you like him and you know you're not going to get him in the second, this is probably the place to go. At number 31, we have the Buffalo Bills on the clock. Now, they know that they're not going to be able to get a receiver in the second. Maybe a top-tier receiver, which they definitely need. So maybe they do go with a guy like a Troy Franklin, which I think could be interesting for them. Or, you know what? I'm going to give them Xavier Worthy, a deep threat to play with Josh Allen. At number 32, the Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock. They do need tackle, and I do like the idea of adding a Jordan Morgan. They do need wide receiver as well. So you know what? I'm going to actually go 3 wide receivers off the board quickly, and we have Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, and Troy Franklin. This has been You Don't Know Ball Mock Draft Madness Day 37. If you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe. Leave a like. Let me know in the comments your favorite and least favorite pick from this mock draft, as well as trade scenarios. 18 days, guys. I am so excited. Have a great rest of your day.